Without the fluff, what is the number one reason why solopreneurs never launch their podcast? It's not understanding production. And on top of that, there are a lot of things that you have to consider when you're starting a podcast, like strategy and how to go about doing that on top of the right camera, the right setup, video editing, and publishing your podcast so that it is optimized for platforms. If you have found this video because you are desperately looking to start your YouTube podcast without getting overwhelmed, you're in luck because I'm basically allergic to anything super complex, especially in my YouTube videos. I like to keep it simple and minimalist. So in this video, I'm going to teach you the step-by-step of how to produce your own video podcast on YouTube. For the past 6 months, I've been producing 3 different video podcast shows here on YouTube for 3 different astrologers, and I've learned a lot in this process, especially when it comes to the fears of starting, as well as the entire technical background of producing. Welcome to my channel, where I teach you how to produce your own video podcast show here on YouTube to drive visibility and results without it taking up all of your precious time. My name is Liz Manuel. I'm a 6-year photographer, content strategist, and producer, and I truly like to tell it like it is. So without further ado, let's get into actually how to produce your own video podcast here on YouTube. The first step is actually 3 things wrapped into one, but it's understanding your goal, clarifying your offer, and implementing a strategy. So we want to do it in this order because we want to know first and foremost what your goal is for your online presence, right? Do you want to grow a community? Do you want to build a new income stream? Do you want to make more sales with an existing income stream? These are all things to definitely take note of because your goal is directly related to your offer. This is how I've always seen it. If you have a goal of basically making an income online and having this freedom lifestyle where you are not tied to your time, you're basically tied to the value you provide. So the more value you provide, the more you make. If that is something you are looking to do, your offer is not going to be one-on-one service providing, right? Your offer is going to be something that's in alignment with your goal. And if you are interested in hashing this out one-on-one with me, I do offer this as a one-on-one 5-week program to get very clear on your time management, your goals, your offer, and I take you basically through this whole process, how it relates to your business. So if you are interested in that, you can check that out below at the link called Book a Call with Me. But your offer is going to look very different depending on what your goal is. So we want to get clear on your goal, right? Is it community growth? Is it visibility? Is it monetary value, right? Let's get clear on that. Once you know your goal for your online presence, this is where we're going to clarify your offer. Now, these 2 things are so ingrained, as I said, because we want your offer to actually be the thing that reaches your goal. I'll say that again. We want your offer to be the very mechanism that helps you reach your goal. Now, there's a lot of other things that I talk through in my programs about return on investment of your time and how to measure return on investment, how to measure if you are reaching your goal. But for the purposes of this video and keeping it simple, just think logically about your time and your goal. So if you have a goal of being truly free in your business and creating content that provides value and driving people to something that provides them even more value, but isn't in direct relation to your time spent, your offer is going to be something along the lines of an educational offer. So whether that is a course, whether that's a digital product, whether that is a membership that you manage maybe incrementally, but it gives you a lot of that free time, as we said, these are all things that could be in perfect alignment with that kind of goal. Now, if your goal is more on growth and you want to build a community, you want to build an email list because you're finding that your emails are really the channel that is growing your income, then your offer could be something along the lines of a workshop where you actually capture their email and then they're a part of your email, or it's a free lead magnet that brings them to another workshop, the next best step, right? And then that's when you already have their email and you can nurture them from there. Me and my clients go super granular in kind of goal and offer orientation. So if you know your goal and you're wondering what kind of offer would be best, comment below what your goal is, and I'll comment back with what I believe the type of offer you should probably look into. So now we get to strategy. And strategy is probably the most complex thing to try to minimize into something very simple, but I will do my best. So basically what I do is I use 2 major things as my foundation of a strategy. I use problem and solution pillars, which I'll explain in a minute, And I also use the buyer stages, which are 3 stages of problem awareness, consideration, and conversion. So we want to take into account these 2 things. Why? Because I believe in more of a storytelling approach when it comes to YouTube video podcasting, as well as emphasizing what you do in your business. I am a very purpose-driven gal. I like heart-centered, authentic businesses. And I also believe that a lot of businesses, especially solopreneur-run businesses, have passion behind it, or else you wouldn't really be doing this because it's a tough road, let's be honest. So you are a heart-centered individual and you really should be telling your story. And the reason you should be, especially on YouTube, is because YouTube is about you. People watch it to really understand where you are coming from so that they can relate and connect to your story. The more people relate and connect to your story, the more they trust you and the more you become the first person that is in their mind when they think about the problem that they have. So let's round this all back to the problem and solution pillars. You first, in this strategy, want to focus on the problem and solution pillars because they are going to basically be your storyline. Start with your solution. What is the solution that you offer as a business? This is the easiest thing because it's probably one thing. Your business probably doesn't solve more than 3 problems, and if it does, you might want to get a little bit more clarified in what you do, because I find that the more things that you have to offer, the more problems you're solving, the less you are catering to a specific person. So you should really have like 1 to 3 at most solutions that you offer as a business. So write your solution down in a solution pillar column. If you're doing this in a doc, that could work. If you're doing this in a spreadsheet, that could work. Truly anything that works best for you. And be on the lookout within the next month because I am going to have a free resource revamp. As you guys know, I have a free resource vault. I'm going to basically revamp that and give you all of these tools so that you have them as templates. Now it's time to think about the problems. What are the problems, the major problems that you can think of as soon as you think about your solution that come to mind when you think about what you solve, right? So let's use me as an example. I give the solution of teaching people how to produce their own podcasts. The problem associated with that is lack of visibility, low sales in their business, or low sense of traffic, or they don't even have a marketing strategy. They don't even know what to do with marketing because they're a solopreneur. They're passionate about their business. But I'm basically giving them this solution that could literally act as their entire marketing suite, which is podcast producing. So as you can see, you can get really granular with your problems, and you can even get more granular with the granular problems as different storylines to connect to your solution. So as you can see here, we basically have a solution as maybe one thing, right? And we have all these problems associated with this one solution. I want you to think of these many problems as the A point in the A to B storyline, and the B point as your solution. So you're basically going to pick out one of these problems and obviously your one solution, and that is going to be your storyline. So let's just use the example that I'm choosing visibility, lack of visibility as my problem to the DIY podcast production solution. Now, in the intro, you probably noticed that a huge thing I focus on is time. I'm really big on time. I believe in doing everything you possibly can to minimize the time that you spend on creating content and doing things that are more for marketing your business. And so I have come up with a content strategy that is really built to last you long-term. It's evergreen and it should basically last you a month. You really shouldn't be doing these like big revamps of what kind of content I should create and deep dives into the content you should be creating on a weekly basis. I believe you should really be working on more of a larger scale monthly basis and kind of having everything figured out for you so that you don't have to have all this decision fatigue of what content am I creating? I think it should just be figured out for you. So basically, letting you know that this is the foundation I've built as a content strategy and it has worked for me. It allows me to seriously work on my business to cater to my clients and produce the best podcast I possibly can without having content creation take up all my time. So with that said, you have your problem, you have your solution. What I want you to start thinking about is 5 different content pieces, or 4, that lead from lack of visibility, right, to your solution of, in my case, DIY podcast production. Why 5? Well, you want this to last a month, and there are typically 5 weeks or 4 weeks in a month. So you can really stretch out your content pieces that take somebody from A to B over the course of a month. And that is exactly how I build this content strategy. Now I want to round robin back to the buyer stages, right? So the buyer stages are going to be your problem awareness, consideration, and conversion stages. So what you want to do is attach these 5 different content pieces to these stages. Now, you are going to have one that's a little off because we're basically trying to fit 5 content pieces into 3 different stages. So what I recommend is having 2 pieces of content that are problem awareness stage content, 2 pieces of content that are consideration stage content, and 1 piece of content that is hyper-focused on the conversion stage. Now, I won't get into each of these stages just because I want to be a little bit shorter on time, but what this really is speaking to is somebody just finding you as a problem-aware person. They're coming in, being aware of the problem that they have, and they are basically looking for a solution, but they aren't really ready to buy yet. That's what that stage is speaking to. The consideration stage piece of content is really speaking to your authority and really speaking to your own experiences, the mistakes you've made, what you did to combat that, because they're considering you as the best solution to their problem. The conversion stage is really when you are speaking to the life improvement after the fact of utilizing your solution. So it is really about inspiring somebody who is looking for the solution. They've considered you, and now it's basically a game of saying, hey, this is what my life looks like now after I've utilized this solution. So this content is really inspirational. It's all about the life improvement, and it's basically going to pitch your offer towards the end. So without going super deep into that, I hope that this all made sense. Please comment below if there was anything in this first step that didn't make sense to you, and I will do my best to clarify. So now that you've had your goal figured out, your offer associated with that goal, and a strategy to lead people, now it's time to start producing your episode. So the second step here is planning. So planning is really much integrated into the strategy. And that's why I go through strategy in this first step, because I want that fresh in your mind as you're planning your piece of content. There is a lot that goes into planning out an episode, but basically the biggest thing is that you want your structure to be hyper-focused on the goal of your content, the title, and the thumbnail. You want to figure those things out first, because these are your baseline headlines, right? Like, you want to figure out what the title is going to be, possibly what the thumbnail concept will be, and make sure you have the goal of this content piece figured out, because it will help you with your title. It will also help you with your thumbnail, and it is going to basically be the thing that you say in your script when you're speaking of, hey, by the end of this video, blank. That's where your goal of the content is going to be. You're also going to want a hook for your piece of content, and this is one of the most important pieces, especially with YouTube video podcasting, because you want to say the boldest thing about the topic you're about to talk through in the beginning. You want to say the most bold, the most maybe out there thing, say a fact, say a question. These things are all going to captivate your audience so that they stick around and say, whoa, I didn't expect that, or whoa, I want to see more on what they're extrapolating on, or hey, this is a really different perspective on this topic. Let me watch more. Your hook should really be the captivating factor of the topic's subject matter. So think about the boldest thing you could say about what you're about to talk about and try to write that into a nice hook. Next comes the introduction of you and your channel, of what you do, and a way to kind of really move into the subject matter of the video from your intro is to talk about what you've done. So there is a bit of a storytelling piece that can happen here where you say, here's the hook, right? You say something bold, and then you say, welcome to the channel. This is where I focus on this. You can just listen back to the intro of this video to see what I'm talking about. And then you talk about where you've come from, because you want people to understand that, hey, this person has this experience and I can trust them in what they're saying here. So give them a reason to trust you. Now, if you don't have the experience to speak to, talk about your own life experience. Talk about why you are qualified to talk about the subject matter, whether it's your personality, whether it's something that you helped a friend get through. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be this big authority thing. You can really speak to what you do best, your personality, and why you are the best person to talk about this. After the intro is when you can really speak to a mini call to action. Just let people know, hey, here's who I am, here's my experience, and here's what I do now. It's really just a weaving. It feels natural to really just say, hey, I have this going on. If you're interested, if you want to learn more, feel free to check that out, because you've already given them value in the hook. Make sure you are giving them value in the hook so that they are hooked to stay until you start speaking about the subject matter. And all the mini call to action is really supposed to do is just to let them know that there is a way to work with you, but you'll get into it more later. This shouldn't be more than like 20 seconds of you just saying, hey, I also do this if you're interested. Check it out below if you're interested. Otherwise, we'll get back into the subject matter and maybe I'll extrapolate on that later. Then it's your subject matter. So you really should be coming up with 3 to 5 key points for every video you create. And these key points are really just going to help you stay focused. And I don't believe in scripting. I used to actually script my videos kind of word for word, and there were things that were beneficial about it. But what I do now is I do bullet points, because I think that I'm at a point in my experience where I can just speak on a topic if it's a bullet point, and I'd rather just speak authentically to you guys. But in the beginning, to get used to it, I did actually have everything written out. And I do recommend this if you want to start that way, because it gets you used to speaking, it gets you used to understanding how the video should go, and it keeps you on track for certain. I just do bullet points for the key points here. Towards the end is when you want to give your offer call to action and a call to action to watch the next video in your 5-video storyline, right? So this is a part of the strategy. And all you're doing is leading people to your conversion stage content, which is going to be the offer. So first, talk about how the subject matter of the video relates directly to what you offer as a business. Talk about what that is and how they can get their hands on it, whether it's a free resource that basically brings them into an email sequence and then you can nurture them like that. Or you are just saying, hey, you can book a call with me here and we can talk about if my offers are right for you. There are many ways to go about this, but basically the key here is to relate the subject matter to the offer directly and how it can actually help them deeper than just watching the video. The next thing is kind of another way of saying if you want to go deeper, but it's basically saying if you want to learn more, you can go watch this video next. This is all about blank and it's going to add more context to this subject matter basically. So we are on to create, and this is really the simplest stage, and it is just creating your content. You're going to want to have a camera of some sort. A phone can do, but you are going to want to record this video of yourself in a setting that feels calm and peaceful. You want to be grounded. You want to be excited about what you're talking about. So make sure that you are feeling excited, you are feeling presentable, and you are also feeling grounded to speak about the subject matter. Those are kind of my 3 things that I always make sure that I feel before I get on camera so that I'm coming across excited and like the best choice for the solution. Your lighting does not have to be complicated, okay? I think a lot of people tend to overcomplicate the lighting situation, and it doesn't have to be that complicated. As you can see in my video, I have a backlight here, I have a window right here, I have another light over here, and it's basically giving my face a bit of a shadow. You don't even have to get this artistic. You can just have a regular light. People aren't going to go out of your video due to lighting, but what they are going to leave your video for is audio if it's poor. So what you want to do is make sure that you are using a software in the editing stage like Descript. Why do I say Descript? I say that because Descript has a toggle if you have access to the AI tools called Studio Sound. You don't even need a microphone if you are able to get your hands on the Studio Sound feature in Descript, because it literally will make your sound like you're speaking through a microphone. But if you do want a microphone, I do have one that I spent $26 for on Amazon, and it was perfect. It worked perfectly for what I needed at the time. Now I have a little bit more of a fancy one, but that is all you need. Just spend no more than $30 if you want to get yourself a microphone. Connect it to your laptop by USB, and I recommend recording right into Descript. So now we are on to the editing phase, which is all about video editing. And what am I going to recommend to you? If you guys don't know by now, you must know that I am such a huge proponent of Descript, and I am not affiliated whatsoever. I am not sponsored. Of course, this channel is super small, but Descript is one of the best tools because it is internet-based. You can share projects, and this is exactly how I run my business. I have all of my clients using Descript, whether they're recording into Descript or they are recording outside of Descript and uploading their video to Descript. It is all in Descript, okay? And I'll tell you why. It has this feature where if you upload your video and there is dialogue, it is going to transcribe the whole video during the upload process. And what that does is it allows you to actually be able to highlight words, highlight spaces of blank spaces where you're not speaking, press the delete button, and it will cut your video. So you're no longer having to cut in a visual timeline that just shows your audio wave. You can actually just delete words and it will cut out the words for you. And so this is just a game changer, of course, because you can tell where you messed up. You can tell where you say, you can tell where you say, you can tell where you make all of your mess ups. And so this is going to save you so much time. And you know, I am such a proponent of time. To speak about the graphic elements of editing, I don't necessarily think you need them. And this is coming from a video editor, a podcast producer, myself. I think that they are necessary when you are at a certain level, you're teaching people. You might think that it is necessary from the beginning, but it is not. And so if you don't want to add graphics, you don't have to. But if you do want to, and you want to do minimal stuff, all I recommend is that you go into Canva, you make sure that you are sizing a Canva file to the video file itself, which is typically 1080 by 1920. That is like the pixel size, which is just horizontal, right? You can do overlaid text in there and download it as a PNG transparent background. And that's going to be a nice little overlay that has your font style in it if you want. And that will be an overlay of maybe a lower third of your name, a lower third of the subject matter you're talking about. It can be really as simple as that. You can get into GIFs and creating GIFs that have like moving animation in them. And that is not even that much harder to do. And I will soon have a resource out for you guys to teach you how to do that exactly. But all in all, in the edit phase, you don't need these heavy graphic animations to be successful on YouTube. I follow so many YouTubers that don't edit their videos at all. And it's called the anti-edit, the anti-scripting method. This is huge these days. A lot of people don't have time for that. They are business owners at the end of the day. And so just don't feel stressed out to edit your content like you are a video editor. You don't have to be. And there are really easy ways to make your video really stand out. And I can teach you that if you're interested in working with me. Okay, so we are on to the publish phase. This is the last stage. And this is really all about the forward-facing final product of your video. So this is where you are going to create the thumbnail. You are going to really establish this title and even tweak it a little bit to have it have more keywords in it so that it is searchable. Your description does not have to be super elaborate. And what I do recommend is that you just have your links at the top of your description always. You want to have your summary after your links because you don't want people to think that you're speaking about all of these things, calls to action, and they look down and they can't see anything but a big paragraph of text. Your links are the most important, especially to help you reach your goals, and so therefore they are at the top. And a little hack that I can tell you is you should pin a comment with all of the links that are relevant to what you said in the video. This also will help, especially with mobile users. Scrolling down to see your description is kind of hard on mobile, but what they will see immediately is a pinned comment. So that is a little hack for you that you can do. And the publishing really is the easiest part because of ChatGPT prompts. I've created really, really amazing ChatGPT prompts that take the whole transcript that you have from Descript and transform literally what you say authentically into a summary, into thumbnail concepts, into title refinement, and even tags and things like that. So this is my process. I take you through exactly how to do all of this in my solo podcast producer blueprint program, which is waitlist right now. It is going to be a hybrid group consulting and interactive course program. And I am so excited to teach you exactly how I do all of this. So if you are interested in learning about how to get involved in that, you want to produce your own podcast, you want the visibility, you want that lifestyle that is just free, providing value through your content, I get it. That is exactly what I've been able to achieve with this method. So get on that waitlist below to be the first to hear about it when it comes out. And if you are a beginner podcaster and you are looking at your metrics and you're like, what the heck is going on? I don't understand why I have low views. I've been doing this for so long. I don't know why my engagement is low. I'm not selling any of my offers. There are invisible barriers that comes with podcast producing. And I want to teach you what those are, just so you don't have to freak out and feel like you're failing, because sometimes these metrics don't exactly mean that you're failing. So if you are interested in learning about that, head over to this video right here. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.